Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 164, Thelonious Monk's I Mean You. Going through the book in order and challenging myself and trying to inspire you and give you some background on the music, which is, believe it or not, lacking on the internet. You can find anything, but you don't know what's real, what's true, what's helpful, and I'm trying to help you sift through all that stuff. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a reaction video today. Not like I'm going to react in a crazy way like some of them are, but as I look through this tune, I'm going to just tell you what's on my mind and explore the tune that way, because I've studied this stuff for a long time and I'm interested in it and I'm learning too. So I thought we'd go through it. So any Thelonious Monk tune is a little, I don't want to say unusual in a bad way, but little has details that not all jazz composers put in a lead sheet, for instance. Ellington might have put a lot of this stuff into the orchestrations, but in the lead sheets, he was writing tunes that were AABA, and a lot of times, followed the what's a great example? In a Sentimental Mood, the chord changes aren't too out there. Sometimes he did, but in a lot of his tunes, he was writing popular songs too. Monk wasn't trying to write hit songs, or maybe he was, I don't know. In any case, always some things that are challenged. So the intro, there's a written out intro, which also comes back at the end, and it's basically this line. And the idea is it says unison because it's usually played, even though it says E flat 9, people play it. And then you get a nice voicing up there. It's usually played sort of like you can think of a baritone sax down here and a trumpet up here or something. But this is interesting because this was written in 1947, which is right at the beginning of the bebop era. And Monk was one of the creators of bebop. He was the house pianist and also sat in a lot, even when he wasn't working there steadily, at Minton's, I think it was Minton's Uptown House, upper New York City nightclub that featured jazz. This is the important thing. It was during the World War II era, 1942 to 1945. That's when the US was in World War II. And that was also coinciding with a very stupid musicians' union strike. And I don't think it helped any musicians, but for 3 years or so, it's called the Petrillo Ban. For three or so years, instrumentalists could not record. They did a strike and they could not record. Only vocalists could record for a few years. And that coincided with the birth of bebop. So there wasn't any documented recordings of Monk or even Charlie Parker at that time. Since then, some what we call bootleg recordings have surfaced, and you can go on the internet and hear Thelonious Monk at Minton's. It's fascinating because he's playing kind of straight-ahead swing piano with a little bit of quirkiness that would eventually become his own style. But a lot of times, we hear Monk and we hear these melodies which sound melodic, but they're almost like swing-era melodies. And it's hard to reconcile him as being a creator of bebop, which is, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, those intricate lines, with Monk's music because it's so melodic and simpler rhythmically. Well, not always simpler rhythmically, but not stereotypically bebop-ish. But something like this is bebop. That's bebop. That's like Charlie Parker, right? So this is the connection right there at the beginning. Then the melody starts with a pentatonic melody. And it's almost too simple for bebop. It's not supposed to sound like regular bebop. He's doing his own thing there. But Monk was very influenced by Art Tatum. My piano teacher, Billy Taylor, told me that. It's in some books now about Monk. And Billy said that he was trying to play like Art Tatum when they first met, when they were about, late teenagers, 18, 19 years old. He said Monk was trying to play, and that's a Tatum thing, these pentatonic runs, right? That was an Art Tatum thing, he'd go. Can't do it like Tatum. But basically, he got that from Tatum. It also turned into Monk's whole tone runs. He did the same thing that Tatum did with pentatonic scales, but with whole tones. And so there's a real connection there. So this pentatonic run comes, I think, partly from Art Tatum. And then goes to a flat 6 chord and an up a half step. That's the kind of thing that makes Monk's music so hard to improvise on. You're doing these chromatic. It takes a long time to be able to improvise on a D flat 7 and then go to D7 afterwards. But it makes total sense. Sounds great with the melody. And then that goes up a 4th, and it's a 2-5-1. Very typical after that. But that D flat to D is just a little wrench in the works that makes a simple sounding tune hard to improvise on. And that's one of the challenges and fun things about Monk's music, to master that, really get into it, get into his world somewhat. It also harks back to an earlier style of jazz, both the pentatonic melody and, believe it or not, that chromaticism, which you did hear in the 20s with Gershwin and Ellington. You know, that kind of thing, really, really big. In the 30s, 20s and 30s, this is before beboppers put 2-5-1s in everything. So you did hear some chord progressions that were a little unusual, like that chromatic thing. Look at the beginning of Kurt Weill's My Ship, for instance. This chromatic harmony, really big, and Monk's going back to that a little bit. Also, people tend to play on 2 and 4 under this, sort of like Louis Armstrong's music. You hear that in the hot 5s and hot 7s, where Armstrong will be soloing on his trumpet, and the rhythm section will be going 1, 2, 3, 4. So Monk brought some of that. And then he goes to the flat side again, but just to the flat 7 here. That's very bebop. And then the flat 6 again. Get some chromatic harmony there or whatever. And then he goes back to the A section again. And then he ends. Just like that. So that's what I'm thinking of, and it's connected with everything culturally, musically, and historically that was happening at that time. It's fascinating, a tune like this. What is really there, beyond the notes in the page. So there you go. Let's see how it sounds in action. A lot of fun playing Monk's music, but it takes a long time to get there. You have to spend, I was going to say years, yes, years. Maybe someone could do it in months. It took me years to live with his music, listen to recordings and other people playing the music, and really studying it and seeing what can I do with a chromatic harmony, and then come back to just the regular 2-5-1 after that. That's the challenge of Monk's music. Enter his world, meet him halfway. You don't have to play like him. Too many people do a bad imitation of Monk, but meet him halfway, and it's well worth the effort you put into it. You'll get a lot more back than you put into it. Thanks for being here. If you're interested in Skype lessons or my video course at Keyboard Improv, love to help you get to the next level with your jazz piano playing and approach it from a sort of holistic way like this. Again, thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next Journey Through the Real Book video.